Hello everyone, welcome to a different kind of video this week on Zilog and Moto. No video game review this week. And also no script this week because I couldn't be bothered to spend some time to write down the intro and outro, I guess. I think sometimes it's okay to not have everything scripted. Sometimes you gotta be able to come off the cuff a little bit, and as you'll see as we get to later on in this video, I was doing a bit of that. But this last weekend was the Midwest Gaming Classic for 2023 up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the very nice Wisconsin Center right downtown. I gotta say, as far as convention centers go, now, clearly I've been to the two main ones in Chicago. It's Stevens over in Rosemont, and then McCormick Place downtown. And obviously those are huge spaces. The Wisconsin Center is much smaller, but it's still pretty big. And last year, if you were at the MGC, you may have noticed that things were a little organized kind of strangely. I don't know if that was partially to do with the fact that we were still kind of digging our way out of COVID or what, but there was a cheerleading convention going on at the same time, and as a result, stuff was just kind of all over the place, and the food service was not great. And well, thankfully I can say that this year all of those things were resolved. There was a huge vendor space this year that I'll be showing off some pickups in just a second. And honestly, everything this year was better than last year. With maybe the exception of, I feel like there might have been a few less new pinball machines. Didn't really have time to get on any of the new machines, except for the Godfather machine, the 50th anniversary one, which is an interesting machine. I don't know if I like it or not. It's definitely got a pretty complex rule system as far as pinball machines go. It was fun to play. I definitely hit a few multi-balls when I did have a chance to play it. And as I said, unfortunately, I didn't really get a chance to get on any of the other newer machines. Looks like there's a new Scooby-Doo machine that looks pretty nice. And there's also a new Pulp Fiction machine that looks really nice. And they had those there this year. Just, again, not quite as many of them as I would expect. So it was a little bit harder to get on the newer machines this year, but it's very minor quibbles. Maybe a reason to go on the Friday or Sunday days, if you're happening to go up for like an entire weekend or something. But anyway, I'm rambling a lot. The reason why this year, though, at MGC was incredibly special was because I got to participate in my first, I don't know if you really want to call it a panel necessarily, but they had a bonus stage set up near the food court this year. And again, this is not like one of the big boy panel rooms for all of the, sort of big names, like the My Life in Gaming guys, the John Riggs, those type of people. And again, not not denigrating those guys at all. They've done a lot of big things, and they deserve to be in those big rooms for those panels. But anyway, this was a smaller thing. This was hosted by Tiger Chainsaw, who I want to thank him, especially for allowing him to give me a spot on this bonus stage. And it was a lot of fun. It was 30 minutes. It was got in, got out real. It went so fast. But I did get a chance to record it, so that will be after this little pickup section where I show off what I got. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I was talking a little bit about the Sega Master System and how important the European part of the library is, since it's larger than what we got in the United States. And I know there's so many people that are at these conventions that they're not going to know that all of those Master System games exist, or they may be in a position where, and this happened, and I talk about this in the video, someone was selling Strider for the Master System for $250. And you can go on eBay and buy the exact same game all day, every day for $25. I don't know what was going on there. Maybe they thought that they could sell it for that much because people didn't know, and they just like, oh my gosh, it's Strider, I'm gonna buy it or whatever. It's Strider for the Master System, from what I've heard, is not even that great. So, whatever. Anyway, it was a fun discussion. Again, thanks to Tiger Chainsaw for giving the time. We'll get to that in just a second. And also, I will apologize in advance for the audio in that section. You should be able to totally hear everything that goes on, everything we discuss, everything we say. But it will be a little bit sort of crowd noisy just due to the, it's a little echoey in there. It's a big convention hall. And unfortunately, we didn't have like a wireless microphone set up or anything. So you're just going to kind of hear what everyone was hearing at the time. But before I go any further, I was able to pick up 12 games that I needed for the collection. So I'm going to go and show those off right now. And we'll start off with the Master System titles. First off, Great Ice Hockey, which is a little bit harder to find than you would think. Like, I've got all the other great sports titles already. This one's, I think it's a little harder to find because it requires the sports pad. So I think it didn't sell quite as well because of that. Next, Teddy Boy, one of the Sega card games. This might be the last Sega card game that I need. I'll have to look. I'm not sure if there's any other ones that I still need, but it was good to finally get this one off the list. Let's see, what else? Columns, specifically the North American version of Columns, not the European version. Not that I really care about that sort of thing, but some people do. So yes, this is the North American version of Columns. And then finally, and I guess some people were kind of surprised I didn't have this yet, RC Grand Prix, and this is the PAL version. So they clearly, that vendor knew what they were doing and just didn't care. I mean, good on them. I mean, if they're gonna make money because people aren't prepared, I mean, that's kind of on the people. But anyway, I'm excited about this one. This one looks kind of interesting. And then let's get to the Genesis games, which was most of what I picked up. I had 6 Genesis games. Some of these I'm kind of surprised I didn't have already. Like, say specifically Shadow of the Beast. This is one that, I know there's some weird stuff with this one, I think, where it was designed for PAL, so it runs too fast. I'm not exactly sure. I know I've read some weird stuff about this, and it's in one of those weird, thin Electronic Arts cases. I know most people are familiar with the thick Electronic Arts cases. This one's in one of the thin ones that they used for a little while. So it'll be interesting to finally play one of these. Next, James Bond. Now, this one obviously is not in the greatest shape, but I think this might be the first time that I've actually seen this complete. And I don't even know why it's not. I don't know why it's rare. I mean, it's not a particularly great game that I'm aware of. I mean, maybe it's awesome. I've never played it. I certainly haven't heard a whole lot of good things about it though. So, yeah, don't really know why this one's too rare, but that's another one to cross off the list. Let's see what else. One of the few SNK games or I should say maybe Takara, that I haven't gotten yet for the Genesis, Fatal Fury 2. And I don't have Fatal Fury 1 yet. I did see someone selling it, but the manual was kind of beat, so I passed. I feel sure I can get it at a later date. But yeah, Fatal Fury 2, and this looks like previously a KB Toys game. Let's see. No Escape, based on the movie by the late Ray Liotta. You may know him as Tommy Vercetti from GTA. I know nothing about this game, and I vaguely remember the movie. I've never seen it. I know it's like a prison escape, and they're like on an island or something like that. So it's by Psygnosis, so maybe it's okay. I don't know. We'll see. Then Phantom 2049. One of those that's hard to find because it's a late release. No, I did not try to get the crazy big special edition that's out there. I'm good with just having this version of the game. And then finally, the last Genesis game that I got, and I killing myself because I could have bought this before and I didn't, and I passed on it for some reason. But it's okay because this copy of Buck Rogers is in fantastic condition. The manual is perfect, and if you've ever seen the manual for this game, it is massive. It's over 100 pages because it's not just a manual. They also include like a little bit of a strategy guide at the end of it. But just very, very cool release, especially if you're familiar with like the old Dungeons and Dragons gold box games. This is an SSI title, so it's got some similar gameplay elements to those. So definitely excited about finally having this in the collection. And finally, the last two things that I picked up. Bouncers for Sega CD. I know this is a weird one. I don't really know a whole lot about it or like why it exists or anything. But yeah, this will be an interesting one to play. And then finally, this made my day. Demolition Man, like one of the last or maybe the last Sega CD game released in the United States. This one can go for a decent amount of money, and I got it for significantly less than the last time I saw it in a store. So I was very, very happy about that. And I love this movie. I know the game is not the same, and I know like the 3DO version is technically like the best version of the game, which is kind of weird, but you know, definitely interested to check this out eventually. So anyway, so that was the pickups for MGC 2023. Now, through the magic of video, let's get you to the panel with myself and Tiger Chainsaw discussing the Sega Master System.
Ready? Yes, sir. Let's do this.
Okay. Hello, Milwaukee. Glad to be here. My name's Dave. I'm with the Zilog and Moto channel on YouTube.
Not your last name.
Not my last name. Try to keep that out of the news. But no, I appreciate the invite from Tiger Chainsaw to come up here and talk to you guys a little bit about the Master System, and specifically about its hidden library. There are, from a North American perspective, there is a lot of games that we don't know about and that you're not going to see out there in the vendor halls. And actually, I'm a little disappointed because I had this whole thing that, you know, you never find these games, you never see them, and, you know, I walk in and I'm here for like 15 minutes and I immediately see a vendor that's specializing in Master System stuff.
I saw it Friday night. I got so excited about it.
Yeah, it's great to see. I mean, because literally, I mean, you walk through the rest of the vendor hall, you don't see that much.
No, you don't.
Or you see like the just the regular games that everyone has that are, you know, all beat up and, you know, they're worth like $5 and, you know, no one cares about.
Yeah, and this guy had 2 copies of the greatest Sega Master System game ever, Elf.
We'll get to Alf. It's in here. But anyway, let's see. I already talked about this. zilogandmoto.com, Zilog and Moto on YouTube. Basically, I do in-depth reviews on any kind of Master System, Genesis, Sega CD, 32X, 20-minute videos on each game. So I've spent a lot of time researching, playing these games, you know, really putting a lot of effort into this stuff. So I think I know somewhat what I'm talking about. Now, the great thing about the internet is there's always people out there that know way, way more than you do. Like, you can spend all day on this stuff, and there's still going to be some guy in Europe or something that knows more about this stuff than you will, and you just will never know.
And he's happy to let you know that, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. You know, you just type one wrong thing on SMS Power, and it's all over. So anyways, we're talking about the Master System. On the screen here, we've got both the Master System and the Master System 2. This is important for reasons we will get to later, but there are 2 versions of the Master System. And again, what we're talking about here with, you know, I wasn't sure how much cord I was going to have on the HDMI. So for the North American Master System library, we only got 114 games. So this is one of the reasons why Nintendo just absolutely ate Sega's lunch in the 80s. There just was not that much stuff out there. Now, part of that was, Sega's fault, as I'll talk about in a minute, but part of it also was Nintendo kind of saying, or not playing too nice with the various developers and saying basically either you make games for the Nintendo or you don't. And that's why we didn't get a whole lot of games for the Master System. But there were 4 exclusives, and unfortunately they just weren't great. They're not things that are going to sell the console. You got Montezuma's Revenge, which is basically a remake of an old platformer from 1984. Not really going to burn down anything. You got King's Quest, which actually is a decent game. It is a decent consoleized port of the PC game. But then you've got Carmen Sandiego, and I don't know how you screw up Carmen Sandiego.
Oh no.
But they managed to. Have you played this?
That is a childhood game of mine that I adore.
The Master System version?
Yeah. So I didn't know that it was an exclusive though.
So it's a quasi-exclusive. There is a Brazilian version.
Okay.
But it's not in English. So if you were to get the Brazilian version, it would be in Portuguese, and you probably would have a really hard time playing it.
So I will say, as far as the fun level goes, I'm not exactly sure, but the goal was probably to get kids interested in learning a little bit, and it definitely did that for me. I remember going through the manual, looking up all these different countries and like the fun facts that they had about it. So I haven't played it in a while, but I guess my nostalgia, I have my blinders on for Carmen Sandiego.
Carmen Sandiego is great, don't get me wrong. What I'm talking about specifically is the Master System version that has the arcade elements that aren't in any other version, where you have to try to get across the screen without getting shot.
Yeah, you get the knives thrown at you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's no other version of the Master System. So if you want to experience that, get the Master System version.
There we go.
And then finally, Alf. Alf, I recently just had the misfortune of reviewing for the channel, and I wanted to like it. I liked the show back in the 80s. I'm not going to apologize for that. I did not. I liked Alf. Me and Eminem, I guess. But anyway, this is a terrible game. You're talking about the vendor over there selling this game for $150.
Yep.
You would be better off paying the local guy in the bar to punch you in the face repeatedly for $150.
It'd be worth that, yeah.
Just don't do this to yourself. Anyway, so again, lackluster releases on the United States side. Well, what about in Europe? So in Europe, there were 269 games released for the Master System as opposed to just 114, and 158 of those were exclusive to Europe. So that's 158 games that people living here have no idea about. They don't know they exist. It's just completely over their head. That includes great stuff like Sonic 2. It includes Sonic Chaos, which is not really like Sonic 3, but just another Sonic game for the Master System. There's Streets of Rage for the Master System. It wasn't just a Genesis title. And then you've got not only Mortal Kombat, but Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah, both?
Both. There's also Mortal Kombat 3, but we don't want to talk about that. It's not so great.
And I do see one of the cool things on why you should collect the Master System games that came out in Europe, and my favorite thing is reason number 3 you got there. It's compatible with the U.S. equipment.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Keep me honest on time, by the way.
10 minutes in.
All right. So we got 4 reasons why you should collect PAL Master System games. 1, I think that they are honestly better than other 8-bit versions. And yes, I'm pointing straight at Nintendo here. I don't care. These games, if you look at them and you do an A to B comparison of these games, the Master System version is better. That's just all there is to it. Most of them are reasonably priced. Now, right now, in the retro scene, unfortunately, as I'm sure you're aware, and we're just referring to Alf going for $150, games are stupid expensive right now.
Yes, they are.
And, a lot of these games you can have for $50 or less. And one specifically I'm going to talk about in a minute. As far as the retro scene goes, being able to get games for $50 and less, that's a win.
Yep, it is.
Mostly compatible with U.S. equipment. One of the things that can be kind of a pain when dealing with import versions is, maybe it's something like the Genesis, in trying to play like a Japanese megadrive game. It does not fit in the slot. Or you've got issues where they're specifically programmed for PAL versus NTSC timing, so maybe the speed doesn't work correctly. You don't have that with, I'm going to say 90% of these games. They're going to work right out of the box. All you got to do is buy the game, put it in the console, and play, and that's it. And then also, I've got a couple unique hidden gems on the console that I really kind of want to just kind of mention, let you guys know that if you decide to get into this, maybe these are some games that you should be looking at and possibly pick up and add to your collection.
And I do want to say that just collecting for the Master System in general, one of my favorite things about it is that the games are preserved so well because of their casings, as opposed to the NES games. They're mostly just carts.
Yes.
Sega Master System games, you have these very nice cases that come with it, the manuals in it, the game cases in it. It's very easy to find good condition Sega Master System games.
Absolutely, and I don't know what it is about Europe, but they take good condition, they take good care of those copies. So usually if you're going to eBay and you're going to look for one of these copies, it's probably going to be maintained well. Now granted, there still is trash out there. You got to be careful, you got to look for pictures and that sort of thing. But the chances of being able to get a copy that's in good condition are high. All you got to do is look.
Yep.
So going back to my first point, being better than other 8-bit versions, there were 36 games that were released for both the NES and the Master System, and I'm not including games there where it was a game that has the same name, but as soon as you start to play, you're like, oh, this is totally different. Its levels are different, the mechanics are different. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about games. It's the same game.
Like Paperboy.
Like Paperboy, yes. In my opinion, and I think when you see some of these screenshots that I'm going to put on screen in a minute, it's irrefutable. These games look better on the Master System just because the Master System is more powerful than the NES as far from a graphical perspective.
I also love the color palette of the Master System. Oh my gosh, they have some beautiful colors they put on that screen.
26 of these 36 games I'm referring to are part of that PAL exclusive list, so again, you're going to have missed these unless you're paying attention and actually going out and searching these out. And then also, there is some of the arguments as far as, oh, well, say for Streets of Rage that I mentioned a minute ago, it's like, we got it, but we got it for the Game Gear. I can just play the Game Gear version. Well, the Game Gear runs at a different screen resolution than the Master System does. So you're going to be able to see more of the screen when you play these games. Maybe it's the same game, but you can still see more of what's going on. And say you're playing like Sonic the Hedgehog, that's a big deal because you need to be able to see, enemies coming at you earlier.
And that's something I didn't know. That's pretty cool. I just learned that.
There you go. I'm glad I could teach someone something. And I'm just going to, I don't think people can really see these too much, but I'm going to go through these with you real quick. You can see what I'm doing
Absolutely,
here.
yeah. And I can tell the difference right away.
Exactly. So, all these, I've got the Master System screenshot on the left, the NES screenshot on the right. And this first one is the Star Wars.
It's just so much more detailed.
Yes, more detailed, more colors.
Yes.
Referring to. Next up, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Now, I know Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is weird because there are 2 NES games for Last Crusade, totally different. This one here this is an 8A comparison. This is the same game. And you just immediately see that, the NES version, it's all yellow. It's, Indy's all brown. He's barely got an outline. It's bad. And then you've got at the bottom of the screen, the good core of the screen at the bottom is all of the health bar and everything.
Yeah.
So, Rampage. Now Rampage. We've got Brian Collin out here somewhere. Rampage is technically a cheat because it did come out in the United States. So, but still, I think it's a good example of a better on the Master System than the NES.
Yeah.
Just immediately, just looking at your main character, it's larger, it's more detailed. You've got more things going on with the people in the backgrounds and the buildings. And the final example here is Gauntlet. Gauntlet was just, it blew me away when I saw the Master System version of Gauntlet for the first time. It looks like the arcade.
This is night and day compared,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And I actually think this is kind of one of the reasons why the NES got Gauntlet 2 relatively quick, because I think they kind of knew, okay, this looks bad. We need to do something here to get out another competent and try to fix this. A couple other notable multi-platform platform releases, Adams Family. I think a lot of people like that old Adams Family with Gomez and jumping around and all the platforming aspects. Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Islands. Now, granted, okay, it's not going to look that much better no matter what system you play it on. Heroes of the Lance looks much, much better on the Master System. Now, granted, if you're playing Heroes of the Lance, you probably want to play it on the PC anyway, but still, just throwing it out there. And then Paperboy, as you mentioned, Paperboy looks great on the Master System. It looks almost as good as the Genesis version. And then finally, Renegade.
So I have a quick question for you, because my buddy Lane Dad asked this yesterday to me, and we were looking at the Master System games over there, which we were talking about earlier. Rampage is in a red box.
Yes, it is Activision release.
What? So is Activision the one that has the clearance to change the box color?
They worked that out with Sega somehow. Now, keep in mind when those were released, that was when Sega was doing distribution here with Tonka, the toy manufacturer. Yep. And I think they were just kind of like, okay, we're just going to do whatever. And with Activision actually being a third-party release instead of Sega releasing it, they kind of were like, okay, well, you can kind of do whatever. And you see the same thing on those Parker Brothers releases that we were talking about earlier. And they were still white boxes, but you could tell the cover design was a lot more advanced than what Sega was doing at the time.
Okay.
Now, the next thing is, these games being reasonably priced. Are you scared off by rare and expensive U.S. versions of games? Because there are expensive versions of U.S. games out there. Well, buy the European version. A good example of this, I've got some props here.
Oh, good. I like this. And as we mentioned, you can buy a European version and it will work with the North American Sega Master System. So, it works great.
So there are 3 games specifically for the Master System. The game is exactly the same European and North American. In fact, it was produced for the European market, and Sega was like, okay, well, technically the console's not quite dead yet, so we're going to hold off like 10, and I'm just making up this number, we're going to hold off like 10,000 copies, give them to the United States, but it was the exact same game. Sonic the Hedgehog, exactly the same. Spider-Man, exactly.
Which is a very expensive game over there.
The third one of these is Strider, and I forgot that I didn't have Strider yet. And I saw it over there. I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and pick it up so I'll have it. No, they're selling it for $25. I wish they were selling it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, let me get that.
For $250. This is not a joke. I know I'm blowing up the guy's spot, but, Strider for the Master System sells all day, every day on eBay for $20. There is no reason to spend $250 on the exact same package. There literally is nothing different. The manual's not different. The back of it's not different. It's exactly the same. Let's see. We're trying to go a little bit quick. I know I got.
We got 11 minutes.
11 minutes. Okay. I appreciate the way you're keeping this moving along. I know you got a lot of stuff going on here. The reason why people sell these for lots of money is because, like I said, it's the same thing, but Europe's POS system is different, so they need to have a different barcode. So they produced little stickers to go over this. So if you're paying all that for the United States version, that's all you're paying for is a sticker.
It's an expensive sticker.
A very expensive sticker that can very easily be reproduced.
Oh, there we go.
And good luck. I'd be wary of some of those other companies out there that I'm not going to mention by name that, slab these things. Like, are you sure that they really authenticated this thing correctly? I don't know.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I'm not going to say. Let's see. Other late releases that are expensive here that maybe you could save a couple bucks on by getting the European version. Alex Kidd in High Tech World, Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. Golden Axe Warrior is kind of a weird title I'll mention in a minute. Ghouls and Ghosts and Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. They're all functionally the same. Those, yes, fine. The manual is slightly different. The cartridge is the same. There's no difference. Save the money. Golden Axe Warrior does have a reverse issue where the North American version got shipped to Europe. So it's just a rare title in general.
So that's what reverse means? Is it was originally made in North America and then it was shipped to Europe?
I don't have the specific details for that, but if you look at the European version of Golden Axe Warrior, it has the North American portrait style.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Not the
yes,
landscape.
Correct. Okay.
I don't know why they did that. And also, if you look at the back of it, it's all in English. It's not the 6 language.
Okay.
So, again, I don't know what was going on with Golden Axe Warrior. It unfortunately is just going to be expensive wherever you get it. But look at the European version because it's the same.
Fun fact: I bought my copy of Golden Axe Warrior at Midwest Gaming Classic 2 years ago.
Nice.
Yep.
And you still have both your kidneys.
Well, yes, I do.
Another title here, Power Strike. If you're not familiar with Power Strike is the first game. Well, I'm saying it's the first game in the Elite series. I might be wrong about that. You may be more familiar with a game called Musha. Power Strike basically is 2 games before Musha. The U.S. version did not get released in stores for some reason. It was a mail-away version. So if you see the U.S. version, it's got this weird cover that's all in white and blue and no colors. The European version, exactly the same, possibly a little bit cheaper. This game is popular, so it's going to be expensive regardless, but at least you get a nicer looking cover.
So the U.S. version is nothing but just blue and white?
Correct, like the
bizarre.
mailers.
I did not know that.
It's something to do with it being the mail-away edition. I don't know why they did that.
I'm learning a lot with this.
I tried. I did actually put some effort into this. Let's see. Again, talk about compatibility issues. So earlier, I put up a screenshot of both the original Master System and the Master System 2. The reason why this is important is I mentioned that like 90% of these games are compatible. However, specifically the Codemasters games. There's 3 Codemasters games: Cosmic Space Head, Fantastic Dizzy, and Micro Machines. They only play if you have the second release of the first Master System, and it looks identical, so you're not going to know without actually opening the shell if you've got the first one or the second one, or on a Master System 2. So that's just something to keep in mind. And if you're one of these people that plays your Master System games on a Genesis via a power-based converter, it's not going to work either. So you have to have either that first Master System or a Master System 2 to play those games. So just one thing to keep in mind. Now, granted, of those 3 titles, you're probably only interested in Micro Machines. The other 2, you can probably skip.
I was wondering which one you could pick.
Yeah, but just throwing it out there, if you do pick up one that's like, I only get like a black screen, like, well, that's what your problem is. It's got a quick list here of other European games that may have issues. Although I call this in question, I just pulled this from a website. This was compiled by other people that said that some of these games may have problems if you try playing them in North America. However, I've played, unfortunately, Back to the Future 2. I've played Back to the Future 3. And I've played New Zealand Story. They all played fine. So I really don't know what they were complaining about, saying they didn't work.
So, little fun fact, I went to Ireland 2 years ago, and when I was there, I bought 16 Sega Master System games. I was all about getting that stuff. One of them was Operation Wolf. Now, I have yet to pop it in, but you're saying that I might have an issue with it.
And that's what they say on the internet.
Okay.
I have not tested this out for myself.
Okay.
Let's see. And also, one other title that's not on this list that there is definitely a problem with is Pit Fighter, but again, Pit Fighter on Master System, maybe not something you want to waste any time.
Just above Elf.
Yeah, I would give it above Elf. You are correct.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, let's go through the rest of these real quick. Again, these sort of like hidden gems or games that I think that you should keep an eye on. First up, and possibly most important, Asterix. Asterix for the Master System, one of the best games of the 8-bit era, period.
Yes.
No matter what console. Asterix and the Secret Mission was a sequel to that game. It uses the same engine. It's not quite as good, but still, it's got that same engine. It's still a decent game. Power Strike 2, super expensive, but a great shooter. Battle Outrun. Battle Outrun is basically taking Chase HQ and combining it with Outrun. That's 2 of my favorite arcade games. How can you go wrong with that?
Yeah.
Cool Spot. Cool Spot is almost as good as the Genesis version, which is insane because the Genesis version is amazing. The only real difference between those 2 is that the Master System version is missing 2 levels. That's it. If you see Cool Spot on the Master System, you are not going to believe it's an 8-bit game. The Genesis had a good run with Disney titles.
Yes.
It was the same for the Master System.
Yes, it was.
You've got 2 Donald Duck titles. You've got Land of Illusion. They're really great games. And then
I love the first one.
I've got to mention this. Master of Darkness. Master of Darkness is basically Castlevania on the Master System. It is the game that got me to start collecting the European titles.
And it has an awesome cover.
Yes, it's fantastic. If you were to buy and invest in one PAL Master System game, it's got to be at the top of the list.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
And one last game that I got to mention, just because it's silly, I know we're kind of rushing on time here. Basketball Nightmare. Now, Basketball Nightmare is in no way a good game. All right, don't make no mistake. It is not a good game, but it is like Pat Riley basketball if you combined it with anime. So just try to envision that in your head. All the different cutscenes, all the different dunks, but with weird, crazy anime.
Now, one game that you don't have on here that I'm curious if you've played it, that I actually really enjoy, and it's not that expensive, Submarine Attack.
I haven't played it yet. I gotta be honest.
It's a lot of fun. I would give it a shot, and it's got one of the most beautiful Master System covers available. I loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. And real quick, as far as from a collector's aspect for the Master System, let's say you want to maybe you're going to Europe, maybe you are going to have possibly access to some of these titles, for things to keep a lookout for because they are expensive, they go for a lot of money, they are hard to find. Masters of Combat, Buggy Run, both 2 late releases for the Master System. Power Strike 2, I mentioned earlier, it's a great shooter. Ultima 4 is hard to find because it came with a manual, 2 inserts, and a map. Finding it with all those parts is very, very difficult. Streets of Rage 2, Sonic Spinball, and then Smurfs 2, which was technically the last game released in Europe, but it's kind of controversial because it was only released in like France and Italy and nowhere else.
Interesting. I knew it was a French title, but okay, that explains it a lot more now.
And finally, one last thing. If you ever see Home Alone for the Master System, jump on it. It's not a great game at all. You don't want to play it, but it is very, very expensive. We're talking like $500.
That is expensive. Very nice. Is it concluded?
Yeah, I think we're
We got 1 minute. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing some Sega Master System knowledge. I always enjoy talking to another fellow lover of the Master System. It's been great. Where can people find more of you at?
It's www.zilogandmoto.com. It redirects to the YouTube channel or just at Zilog and Moto on YouTube. And every week, 20-minute reviews for each of these games.
Love it. Thank you so much, Dave. I really appreciate you hanging out with us on the bonus stage. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's been an honor.
Okay, that was my appearance at the bonus stage at MGC 2023. I really hope that I can do this again at a future convention. I hope I'm invited back. I hope that whoever's running the bonus stage next year, if it's Tiger Chainsaw again or if it's someone else, that I'll have the opportunity. And if not, oh well, I understand. It's there's a lot of great people that were on that bonus stage, besides me, that were way at a higher level than where I'm at. So I totally understand, but again, I was very grateful to have the opportunity, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching that. And as far as next week, back to the reviews, I'll be reviewing a game that it's I think the only game where I've got to review the game 3 times due to appearing on multiple consoles out of everything. So if you can maybe think about that, like what game had 3 different releases on the Master System, Genesis, Sega CD, and 32X, you'll probably figure out which one I'm pulling out for next week. So anyway, like I say every week, whatever you like to play, have fun, and be excellent to each other. Later.